with regard to hiring Jeff Saturday as his next interim. I put interim, but put the quotation fingers up because that's the next coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He'll be there for 4 or 5 years, if not longer. What was he trying to say, Vinny?
I'm stuck on you, the former newspaper writer, saying that press conferences should start at 8 o'clock. Like you've never had an early deadline. How dare you come on Al Gore's internet and act as if you don't have a early edition of a paper. Like you're so inconsiderate to our to our scribes.
Early edition.
You know what that is.
First of all, tell me what a newspaper is. What's a newspaper?
It's a thing we get on our phones now. That's what it is. It's a thing we get on our phones.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's a thing we get on our phones. What he meant, what's the funny thing for me is when Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, said, I like that he doesn't have experience, that he's not scared, that he's not basically bound to analytics. And not to go into defensive analytics, but doesn't analytics encourage you to take more chances? Doesn't analytics tell you go for it on 4th down more times than not? Doesn't analytics tell you to go for 2 most of the time? I wonder.
Go for it on 4th down. You guys punt too much. Why are you doing this? Go for it. It's the science of the reckless at times. Or it's the science of the fearless, not the fearful.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jim Irsay was trying to say there. How about this though? Can you imagine going to a job that you've never done before? That you've done this as a performer, but now they're asking you to do it as a leader, and you go in and you've never done it, and the CEO says, "Good. I'm glad you don't have experience. I'm glad. I'm so glad, because this organization, these coaches, all these coaches I got here, sorry Gus Bradley, sorry John Fox, and any other person on the staff with a little bit of experience, whether it's 2 years or 20. Sorry, Jim Irsay doesn't want anybody on the staff with experience. You all are scared. You all are governed by analytics, which doesn't really jive. But anyway,
I want
to go with somebody who doesn't have experience. Who says that?
Someone with a few $1 billion to his name. Like you have the economic freedom to have a stream of consciousness, right? And clearly, Jim Irsay is not one of your favorites, as evidenced by some things that you've said, as evidence I can imagine by you being in Boston, in the Boston area, and
nothing to do with
rivalry.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Nope. Nothing.
Got nothing to do with it. Because I'll go there too. Because he said some stuff. This is not a. I'm glad you mentioned. I'm gonna let you keep going, but I just want to parenthetically throw in here. Jim Irsay has not been a successful owner because he just knows what he's doing. I've been around it for 52 years. Hey man, okay. I guess if you want to take credit, if I say I'll give you credit because of the people you've had around you, then sure. But don't you dare stand there in front of those people and say it's all you. Don't you dare take credit for. You can't take credit for Tony Dungy. You can't take credit for Bill Polian, and you certainly can't take credit for Peyton Manning. Like those. That's all those numbers that he referred to.
No. Nope. I'm gonna stop you right there. And you may very well be right. And this is where my bias comes in. Where am I from? Where am I from, Michael Holley?
Oh, Detroit.
Okay. So let's just say that there is a professional football team in town. Let's just say that professional football team never wins. They never hire the right people. They squander the talents of generational players that they've had.
Okay. All right.
So there's something to Jim Irsay hiring Bill Polian and getting out the way, and hiring Tony Dungy and getting out of the way. You're not taking credit for their genius, but everybody else had those chances to hire those people. There is an element of credit that he's going to take. Now, you can't say, hey, man.
Well, Peyton was obvious. Peyton was obvious. the number one pick.
Okay, wait. Peyton was obvious, but there was plenty of people saying you should draft Ryan Leaf because look what Peyton does in big games. I remember that Peyton. Look, what I'm saying is
they were.
It was
I remember. I know what they said. But if they had the number one pick, they would have done the same thing the Colts did. It really wasn't a debate.
I get what you're saying. I get exactly. It was a conversation, and sometimes you happen to make the right choices. Now, I'm not here to defend his record. I don't think that maybe the way that he did this is necessarily as tasteful, but I'm not as outraged. I'll say that. Can I say that I'm not as outraged at Jeff Saturday getting this job?
Why
from
not?
the stand. How do I put this? There's been an outcry, an outpouring of criticism saying, and if Jim Trotter was here today, Jim Trotter would have a lot to say about this. He's a lot more versed on this than I am. But for an interim job that's not even necessarily a good job, let's be honest there, right? They've got a lot of holes in this roster, some underachieving players that you expected a lot from. I don't know if that's necessarily coaching. And then you're not going to sink to the bottom low enough to get the top pick in the draft, which buys you, 3 or 4 years.
You might
take a quarterback. They're 3-5-1. They're not going to fall down that low.
What if they lose the rest of their games?
Here's the thing. If you lose the rest of your games, I don't think there's a way that you can actually bring Jeff Saturday back. And my point to you, my larger point is, I want black coaches to be candidates in jobs where I think they can actually succeed, in jobs that are actually decent jobs. Have you seen that quarterback? I remember them cycling through. Was it Phillip Rivers and Carson Wentz and Matty Ice and now Sam Ellinger, right? They have yet to find a quarterback. So you mean to tell me in the NFL that gets rid of black coaches as quick as they can get rid of anybody, that I would want one of the better black African-American minds to go to a place that he can't succeed just so someone 18 months from now and say, see, told you about that. Can't have a black coach over there. The Indianapolis Colts, the fourth winningest team since 2000, and he couldn't win over there. I'd rather not, because that's not a good job right now. Do you understand that that's not a good job? It's not a good look to bring Jeff Saturday off, and he's got a lot of cleanup to do in that locker room and with the coaching staff. But from a macro standpoint, Michael Holley, I wouldn't want a top coordinator having to parachute into their 9 games into the season without a quarterback and a bunch of underachieving players. That's a recipe for disaster, man.
I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I disagree with you, but I hear you. And the reason I disagree with you is because the issue is not the job. It's not whether it's a good job or not, because a lot of these jobs that open up, and already we've had a couple of them. So Carolina has an interim tag, Steve Wilkes. Indianapolis, interim tag with Jeff Saturday. So that's 2 jobs, 2 people who have been fired. The odds tell you that about 5 or 6 more jobs are going to come open by the time the season's over. So you're going to have 7, roughly 6 to 8 openings. And those jobs will not be great. The issue is not, what's our roster today? It's the commitment. What kind of commitment are you going to show an African-American head coach? Because that really is the third leg of the Rooney Rule. So the Rooney Rule was supposed to be, this is from Art Rooney. He and his father, Dan, came up with this idea of the Rooney Rule. It's you know what it should be called? It shouldn't even call the Rooney Rule. It's how the Pittsburgh Steelers do business rule. And I've had 3 head coaches in my lifetime. 3. So what they do is, okay, we're going to investigate. We're going to explore. We're going to cast a wide net. We'll have our candidates. Then we'll bring in all the candidates, and we will interview them all thoroughly. And then when we hire our candidate, because we've been thorough, you know what we're not going to do? You ain't going to hear from us after a year or 2, even if that guy struggles a little bit. As a matter of fact, we may bring him in knowing that he's a little raw. They usually hire him in their 30s and knowing they got room to grow. And then we're going to put our organizational commitment behind them. So when most of these guys get a job, it's not good. And they leave, and it's not good because they haven't had the commitment and the support from ownership all the way down. So, yeah, it's not a good job. But you're telling me, Jim Irsay, you already told me about your black friends. He named his black friends yesterday. You hear that in the press conference? He said, hey, don't question me about the Rooney Rule because I got black friends. I hired Tony Dungy and Jim Caldwell. Some of my best coaches are black.
We can if there's one conversation that we cannot have on this here airwaves, working for who we work for, it ain't that one. I tell you that much. Don't lose your job today. Don't lose your good job today, Michael Holley. I'm gonna make sure we both stay employed today. I'll make sure we both stay employed today. You ain't missed nothing.
What did I miss?
Talking
about Jim Irsay.
Here's what I will say.
Okay.
Here's what I will say. Black coaches in most sports, it ain't just football. It's not bad. You can look to Houston. You can look to Houston to everybody's uncle, Dusty Baker, right? You know the type of jobs that black coaches get? The cleanup jobs. The jobs where it's a mess and you got to clean it up from a public relations standpoint. You got to get the locker room in order because, generally, that's how, black folks are looked at, right? The abstract compliments, not necessarily from a tactical, people person,
right.
Face of the franchise. He projects well, strong, strength, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? This ain't that. I don't think this team needs necessarily a leader of men. I don't know if they necessarily suffer from leadership. Look, didn't they replace offensive coordinator? They got a new play caller who was the quality control, if I remember correctly, right? Quality control the last 2 years. They've got a bunch of different holes, and I'm not sure when you go to the Rooney Rule and you didn't call it the Rooney, just call it the Black Rule. You know what I mean? Maybe that just makes people feel a lot more comfortable. The black and brown rule. How about we not put a white man's name on it? How about we call it the black and brown rule and make everybody feel uncomfortable? You know what I mean? So with that being said, it's about, like you said, it's about the commitment. It's about the resources. It's about the long-term plan. Do you have belief and trust with this organization that they will have that? If you don't have a quarterback, I don't see how you can be a good team. If you're not in a position to get a quarterback, considering the way that they've shuffled quarterback in and out since the abrupt retirement of Andrew Luck, I don't know if I would want a brother in that spot.
Well, it's interesting. Whoever is in that spot right now is Jeff Saturday. And I know a lot of people have kind of, because they know him. I mean, I've talked to Jeff Saturday a couple of times, just doing some work with ESPN over the years. Have done a couple of shows with him. Great personality, really personable guy, easy to talk to. So everybody's kind of dancing around that part. They have respect for Saturday, especially if you rooted for him like you did in Indianapolis, or you've worked with them like people have in the media. But the bottom line is, he's not his own man. He's not his own man in this position. And the biggest tell of that is when he said, he fixed his mouth to say, and he did not laugh, he said, Sam Ehlinger's our quarterback. Bruh, stop. Now, we all know Sam Ehlinger is not great, and Matt Ryan at this stage of his career is not great either. But Matt Ryan is a better quarterback for the Colts than Sam Ehlinger. And the AFC is not great. You're 3-5-1, whatever
great.
You are, not great.
Nothing's great. Neither conference is great, to be perfectly honest.
So if you, who knows? Like you play in a division that, the Colts, you already played the Titans twice, you lost to them twice. Got it. That's over. But lost by a combined 16 points in 2 games to the Titans, the first place team in the division. So they're better than you. They're better run than you. But it's not like you can't even compete. Like your roster, I disagree with you about the roster too. The roster is good enough to make the playoffs. It should be. But the fact that Jeff Saturday is not even going to look Matt Ryan's way tells you there's an agreement in place. And the reason he's not going to look Matt Ryan's way is because if Matt Ryan plays, he gets $17 million more, and Jim Irsay ain't trying to pay him. So this is not about a meritocracy. This is not what's doing best for the team. It's what's doing best for Irsay and now Jeff Saturday. And Vinny, I'm telling you, you're not upset about interim coach Saturday? I want to introduce you to head coach Saturday on a Sunday, on many Sundays going forward. I don't know, man. But
no,
that's not the only crazy thing.
It's fair to be concerned. No, it's fair. You're fair. It's fair. It's fair to have concerns, and I have concerns about Sam Ehlinger, considering he doesn't give Michael Pittman the ball. And I'm not saying that Michael Pittman is my number 2 wide receiver on my 8-1 fantasy team. And I'm looking at this for purely selfish reasons. But my team is 8-1, so clearly I know what I'm doing from a team building standpoint. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what you should do?
What's that?
You should trade Michael Pittman. Trade Michael Pittman. Because Michael Pittman and his teammates...
He ain't touching the ball no more. I know. I was going to
say, they're not going to be happy. Hey, whatever my level of disappointment is, it doesn't even come close to what the conversations, if I could just be a fly on the wall for 10 minutes. The conversation yesterday in the Colts locker room, and I want to be there for 15
minutes. In the coach's room.
For Saturday's first meeting with the team. Like, all right, boy. Like, come on. Like, dude.
Do you introduce yourself? Do you say, in case you didn't see me in the last episode of That's My Mama, I'm Jeff Saturday.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.